Heading into the next century, we would see an anime that would surpass in popularity in Japan at least, even that of Sailor Moon. That anime being the Pretty Cure franchise, or Pure Cure as fans like to call it. And with each incarnation of Pure Cure, there is a lot of Yuri subtext, all to varying degrees. But to be honest, the only Pure Cure series that I'm remotely familiar with are the previous two Pure Cure series, Kira Kira Pro Cure and Hogato Pure Cure. So I can't go into detail about any of the queer representation in the Pure Cure franchise up to those two, because I'm just not familiar with any Pure Cure series that aren't Kira Kira and Hogato. But from what I can glean from some quick research, while there may be one or two definitive queer characters, most of the girls are together in romantic friendships. Mostly because, in the early 2000s, the Class S ideals of Japan were resurfacing a little bit, which I've talked about in other videos, so I won't go into detail about it here. But this is the type of female relationships that were getting popular again in the early 2000s. The Yuri novel and anime series, Murlia-sama ga Mitoru, is a great example of the Class S ideals of Japan resurfacing again. Don't worry, Pure Cure fans, I'll get back to this franchise later on, cause there's a bunch of stuff to talk about with the Kira Kira and Hokuto Pure Cure series. Let's visit Cutie Honey again with the 3 OVA episodes of Cutie Honey, the best and my favorite version of Cutie Honey.
In this version, Panther Claw has made their presence known by terrorizing Tokyo. However, both the organization and police are baffled by a lone cosplaying vigilante who defeats Panther Claw's schemes and then disappears. This is Honey Kisaragi, a robot created by the late Professor Kisaragi. Teaming up with policewoman Natsuko, Honey fights to defeat the organization of Panther Claw and their leader, Sister Jill. There are many reasons why I love this version of Cutie Honey, and here's a few reasons real quick. The animation, courtesy of Studio Gainax, is quick-paced and totally wacky, and while it isn't true to Go Nagi's original manga style, I think it really works here. It's frantic, goofy, and so much fun. I love how characters like Honey and Natsuko are adults, with Natsuko being the most well-defined that she's ever been. Instead of a small girl who crushes on Honey from a distance, always needing to be saved by Honey, she's a badass detective who, while all the other police forces are running away, she'll run into the battle without any powers and blast the villains with a fucking bazooka.
I could gush on and on about my love for this OVA series, but let's focus on the queer elements in Cutie Honey, and they are honestly the most explicit that they've ever been.
The most obvious is the growing relationship that occurs throughout the 3 OVAs between Honey and Natsuko. At the beginning, Natsuko didn't like Honey because of her vigilante antics, though she's surprised to find that Honey is living in the apartment next to her. She pushes Honey away, but eventually, slowly but surely, she lets her guard down around her. The two start to be close and enjoy spending time together. When Honey powers down, Natsuko gets naked to embrace her,
because of course she does,
confesses her love for Honey, which allows Honey to wake up. There are multiple confessions of love between the two when they need the courage and motivation. There is even a well-deserved kiss between the two, finally signifying the love that the two of them share towards each other. And at the end, with all the bad guys defeated, Natsuko quits being a detective to become crime-fighting partners with Honey and form a deep relationship with her as well. Honey and Natsuko's relationship is the core of this version of Cutie Honey. It's what brings us the emotional scenes and is what ultimately motivates our two main female leads. Their selfless love is very endearing to watch, and their added complexity is the main reason why this version of Cutie Honey is my favorite of them all.
It's the most explicit that a Cutie Honey show has ever been in terms of queer representation, and it's also the most fleshed out and well-written one too.
Main series villain Sister Jill is also fleshed out in this version as well, being very sympathetic this time around. Throughout the series, especially in the final OVA episode, Sister Jill desires to unite with Honey, whether Honey wants to or not. This selfish love for Honey is cleverly contrasted by Natsuko's selfless love for Honey. Even though Sister Jill's love for Honey is evil, the way it's written makes the character and the love very sympathetic, instead of relying on sensationalism, and that's why I think it really works.
Cutie Honey is the most fleshed out version of the Cutie Honey franchise, and it's my absolute favorite, with the best queer representation that the franchise has ever had. We only have one more Cutie Honey series to look at later on, but unfortunately, it's even worse than Cutie Honey Flash. Throughout the next couple of years, we would see similar Magic Girl anime that would air every year, but none of them seem to have the impact or popularity with queer representation as well that the Magical Girl anime that I discussed before managed to do. But then a new, unique, and creative anime aired that would change the way that Magical Girl anime would be created again. And that anime is Puella Magi Madoka Magica. Now of course, was there dark Magical Girl anime before? Of course, but none of them reached the fever pitch that Madoka Magica did, influencing more and more dark Magical Girl anime to air in the years to come. Some unsuccessfully though, like Magical Girl Sight, Magical Girl Apocalypse, and Magical Girl Spec Ops Oxyca. It's like with Sword Art Online and the isekai genre. There were a ton of isekai anime to come before SAO, some that were even better, but Sword Art Online made the isekai genre what it is today. And because of Madoka Magica, we always see two types of Magical Girl anime that air every year. Either a regular cutesy one for little girls, or a dark and edgy one with many characters dying for older audiences.
But getting to the anime itself, the story follows a group of female middle school students who choose to become magical girls and battle surreal enemies named witches. A strange being named Kyubey does this by granting the girls a wish, and this turns them into magical girls. Main character Madoka and her friend Sayaka are thrown into this world of magic and witches thanks to an encounter with a silent transfer student Homura, who attacks Kyubey and warns Madoka not to become a magical girl, no matter what. Other main characters include a rude and crude homeless girl named Kyoko and a gentle upperclassman named Mami. Together, the girls consequently learn of the anguish and perils associated with their new roles.
And Magical Girl anime would never be the same again. First, let's talk about the anti-hero throughout the anime, Homura, who has a very fascinating journey from being devoted to her friend Madoka to wanting to save her life by traveling back in time numerously, and eventually becomes a great showcase of selfish love and someone going insane because of it in the Rebellion movie. And this predatory nature that Homura becomes isn't the regular stereotype that you usually see of this character. It's actually really fascinating, so let me explain.
When we first meet Homura in the series, she appears to be the villain. It is later revealed, however, that Homura is actually from another timeline. She had transferred into the school and she became friends with Madoka and the others, who were magical girls. She was shy and wore red glasses, and as time went on, she developed a crush on Madoka. In the end though, all the magical girls died in a big fight with Valpurgisnacht, the biggest and most powerful witch that they ever seen. Madoka died in Homura's arms, and Homura made a wish to Kyubey to redo her first encounter with Madoka, so that this time, Homura can become strong enough to protect Madoka. This sent her back in time to the point when she transferred into the school, so that she can save Madoka with her own power. However, after repeating time over and over again and being unable to stop Valpurgisnacht with Madoka dying again and again, Homura began to feel distraught. In one timeline, Sayaka becomes a witch cause, plot twist, a magical girl's soul gem can be tainted to the point where it becomes a grief seed. From these seeds, a witch will erupt. These grief seeds, by the way, is what magical girls use to power up and replenish their soul gems. So it's an endless cycle of magical girls and witches, all thanks to Kyubey and his race of incubators, who wish to collect the energy of the magical girls. Learning this, Homura decides to try and defeat Valpurgisnacht on her own, adopting the long hair and stoic personality we see at the beginning of the series. In our current timeline, however, Homura is still unable to defeat Valpurgisnacht on her own, about to give in to despair. But Madoka rushes in and finally decides to make a wish to become a magical girl. This wish is to erase all witches before they are born, this including the past and the future, by her own hands, so that magical girls won't become witches when they die, and she can put an end to the laws of cycles, becoming a new one instead. With a wish as big as this, Madoka is turned into a god, as she easily defeats Valpurgisnacht and the world is transformed into a world where Madoka never existed, with the only one remembering her is Homura. Homura, though saddened by the loss of Madoka in the physical world, still decides to fight the good fight against a new enemy that has seemed to take the place of the witches. Cut to the Rebellion movie, and Homura, grieving Madoka and being distraught at her still remembering Madoka and no one else remembering her, is put into a world where Madoka still exists and the 5 main characters work happily together as a perfect magical girl team. At the end of the film, however, it is revealed that this whole world is just a witch's barrier that was created inside of Homura's soul gem as a way to lure the law of cycles in, which is all according to Kyubey and the Incubator's plan to capture Madoka and regain the law of cycles for themselves. In order to get Homura back, Madoka, Mami, Kyoko, and Sayaka, who returned with Madoka to save Homura originally, defeat Homura's witch. Goddess Madoka then descends from the sky in order to bring Homura to peace. However, plot twist that still has the fanbase divided to this day, Homura snatches Madoka and separates her from her goddess self. She absorbs Goddess Madoka and shatters her own soul gem, which becomes a dark orb. With the power of the law of cycles, Homura rewrites the universe, saying that she remembers all the times she repeated time, and all of the pain she suffered for Madoka's sake. This pain has become precious to her though, and tainted her with something stronger than curses. Love. Homura, who brought down an imprisoned god, becomes a demon. She forces Kyubey and the incubators to become the ones who will have to deal with all the curses of the world from now on. She rewrites reality so that Madoka and all the other girls can live happy lives without witches, curses, or the incubators. Even Sayaka, who as a part of the old law of cycles, tries to force Homura to turn things to normal, calling this world unfair to Madoka and what she went through in the original series. But Homura just wipes Sayaka's memories away, putting her back to normal. It's revealed that Madoka may still have some goddess powers within her, as Homura accepts that she may become Madoka's enemy in the future, should she regain her godhood and oppose her. But she doesn't care, as long as Madoka is alive again. Forever. And as we see in the post-credit scene, Homura has truly fallen from grace.
Sorry, that was a lot to summarize, but I thought it was necessary in order to explain why I believe Homura to be such an interesting character and not just another regular predatory lesbian trope. She's a fascinating character with complex morals and values that change throughout the main series.
She starts off as just a shy girl who has a little crush on Madoka, but after having to repeat time again and again and again, and seeing it in so many horrific events for some of her age, she becomes cold and distant, and all of her work is for nothing as Madoka uses her witch to become a god in order to save all magical girls in the past, present, and future. This leaves Homura, who still has memories of everything, but without Madoka. Was everything she did for nothing? What was her reward? Why was she left in this state by the one she loves? Doesn't she deserve happiness? Well, take all this craziness and add on to the torture that she endured by Kyubey and the incubators, and it's easy to see how Homura went insane at the end of the Rebellion movie. She doesn't want to ascend with Madoka and become one with the law of cycles. She wants Madoka to be alive again and to be with her forever, even if she has to force Madoka to be like this. And the world that Homura creates looks like a happy one. Mami and Nagisa still meet and become friends, Sayaka and Kyoko still live together and share a relationship, which I'll talk about soon, and Madoka is alive again and with her family. And there's no Kyubey or curses that will threaten their world anymore.
This reality seems perfect. But there's one problem though. It's a world created by selfish love.
Homura forced Madoka out of her godhood and into this new life. She didn't ask Madoka if this was okay. She didn't ask the other girls if it was okay to erase their memories. She was tired of getting the short end of the stick and decided to take everything into her own hands, by force if she had to. Because of all the trauma and death and repeating time that Homura went through, she went insane. Add on to that a desire to be with the one she loves, whether Madoka likes it or not, and it's a pretty tough and complex situation. She took Madoka's sacrifice away from her and forced her into this new world in life. But on the other side though, Homura's actions did result in a seemingly perfect world. Everyone is alive and happy, with nothing to ruin the peace that Homura created. It's an interesting dilemma that lots of deep discussions and conversations can arise from. Was Homura right in remaking the perfect world that we see at the end of the Rebellion movie? Or was it wrong for her to use her selfish love in order to force Madoka into a situation that she didn't want or really needed? Who knows?
Whatever your answer though, you can't deny that Madoka Magica created a complex character that is a great showcase of selfish love taking over someone and someone becoming completely insane. It's a reason that I love the ending of the Rebellion movie, despite the anger that it created in the fanbase. But if you still say that Homura is still nothing more than a predatory lesbian, we have the selfless love of Kyoko and Sayaka that greatly contrast it. Let's go over this quickly, cause that Homura part took a while to get through.
When Sayaka first met Kyoko, she didn't like her at all, thinking her to be too rude and immature, Kyoko thinking the same about Sayaka. The two of them often fighting when Sayaka becomes a magical girl. However, after getting to know each other better, Sayaka and Kyoko become closer. And when Sayaka becomes a witch out of despair, Kyoko sacrifices herself in hopes that she can revive Sayaka back to normal. At the end of the series, as Goddess Madoka rewrites reality so that the magical girls won't become witches anymore, she still honors Sayaka's wish to allow Kyosuke to continue having his hands healed and still being able to play the violin, giving Sayaka a chance to allow her to see Kyosuke playing one last time before she becomes one with the law of cycles, leaving Mami and Kyoka to believe that Sayaka fell to the Wraiths, the new enemy that took the place of the witches. In the Rebellion movie, in the world that Homura's Witchberry created, we see Sayaka alive again along with Madoka. In this world, we learn that Kyoko decided to go to the same school as the other girls, and is no longer homeless. Instead, she is happily living with Sayaka. Later, when Homura learns the truth about what the incubators did to her, all the girls fight to bring her back to normal by defeating her witch. Kyoko reveals that she's starting to remember Sayaka's death in the original world, and how distraught that left her. Sayaka tells Kyoko that she knew what was up the entire time, as Goddess Madoka had asked Sayaka to join her in helping save Homura from Kyubey, before they got caught up by Homura's witch barrier. But she had another reason that she wanted to return. Having become a part of the law of cycles, Sayaka saw all the different timelines that Homura created, and all the times Kyoko sacrificed herself in order to save her. She thought she'd left the world with no regrets, but she did regret something. She regretted leaving Kyoko behind, as the two confessed their love for each other while holding hands against the battlefield. After Homura absorbs Madoka's godhood and rewrites history, she still allows Sayaka and Kyoko to still live together and love being together. Yes, Kyoko has no memories of anything that's happened throughout the franchise, and Sayaka doesn't remember anything as well as being a part of the Law of Cycles. They're still happy together.
Adds to the complexity of the ending of the Rebellion movie some more, doesn't it?
Sayaka and Kyoko's selfless love perfectly contrasts Homura's selfish love for Madoka. Both Sayaka and Kyoko are willing to sacrifice each other in order to save the other, while wanting nothing in return. While enemies at first, they slowly become friends and eventually start to fall in love. Hell, even Homura recognizes this, as she still keeps Sayaka and Kyoko together in her new world.
And no matter what timeline the franchise is in, no matter what manga story, video game, goddamn pachinko machine, there is always one thing that remains consistent. Sayaka and Kyoko, and the selfless love that the two have for each other, making them two of my favorite queer characters in all of anime. So long story short, Sayaka and Kyoko have a queer relationship that grows gradually over time to become something truly special. And although Homura's actions in the Rebellion movie may have some predatory lesbian tropes in them, you can't deny that she is an extremely well-written and complex character. All of this combined makes Pure Magi Madoka Magica not only one of the best magical girl anime out there, but also one with complex and interesting queer representation as well. Returning to Sailor Moon, it's Sailor Moon Crystal, specifically the third season, which was a much better anime adaptation of the original manga than the first two seasons for reasons that I'm not about to go into here. And while there's plenty of credit that's needed to be given to Nakako Takeuchi for making Haruka and Michiru who they are and their legendary status in the original manga, when I watched the third season for the first time, I realized how much more the 90s anime did for the two characters and their relationship.
For example, Haruka and Michiru only really get one intimate moment throughout the entire season, and it's before any newcomer to Sailor Moon finds out that Haruka is actually female. In the third version of the 90s Sailor Moon anime, Haruka and Michiru got an intimate moment like every episode. It was amazing! While Sailor Moon Crystal, being too faithful to the original manga at sometimes, doesn't really do anything with their relationship. It also doesn't help that Uranus kisses Sailor Moon at one point, which she apologizes for later on, only saying that she wanted her princess to stop investigating the Death Busters, same with what Michiru was doing with Mamoru. But like, you don't have to kiss her in order to scare her away. 20 years later, this kiss is a little outdated in the eyes of modern viewers. However, something that the 90s anime didn't do that Crystal does is define Haruka as a gender-fluid character, as Neptune tells the Sailor Guardians that Uranus is both male and female, and features the qualities and abilities of both.
Sounds very similar to Sapphire from Princess Nine, huh?
Coming out and saying that this character is gender fluid is really progressive considering that the original manga came out in the 90s. And even though Haruka and Michiru don't get that many intimate moments together, the first of the three ending themes that feature Uranus and Neptune is possibly the greatest thing that has ever existed in this world. From the loving glances, the hand-holding, mirroring the best moment from the Sailor Moon S season, to lovingly embracing in a bed of roses, and to the actual lyrics of the song. It's the freaking best.
It's kind of my favorite thing ever, but does it make up for the lack of intimate Haruka and Michiru moments as compared to the 90s anime? Yeah, a little. A lot. Yes. In the same year, we also had the more dark anime Magical Girl Racing Project, an anime that capitalizes on the still popular idea of a dark magical girl anime, thanks to Madoka Magica.
The anime centers around a popular social game known as the Magical Girl Racing Project, which has the ability to grant the players a chance to become real-life magical girls. These magical girls can obtain magical candies by protecting people and performing good deeds. However, the administration has decided that 16 magical girls in a certain city is too many, announcing that they will cut the number in half by having the magical girl with the fewest magical candies each week lose their powers. As the rules of the game continue to change and become more twisted, the girls eventually find themselves dragged into a life-or-death battle against each other.
Even more than Madoka Magica, Magical Girl Racing Project has two very explicit queer characters, that being Shizuku and Nana, also known as Wee's Winter Prison and Sister Nana, respectively.
In their magical girl form, We always see the two of them together, and it's a few episodes in that we learn that not only do they live together, but they are also in an intimate relationship together as well. Though the light novel goes into more detail of the beginnings of their relationship than the anime, but it's just them going to the same college, becoming friends, and falling in love with each other. Even though there's no on-screen kissing, we see their intimacy through their body language and dialogue. And Sister Nana also happens to have the ability to enhance the power of her beloved, and that of course, being Waste Winter Prison. And since this is a show where one or more characters die every episode, when Nana stupidly wants to go to Swim Sim's team to form an alliance and stop killing each other to stay alive, it's all a trap in the end as Swim Sim and her crew kill Shizuku. Nana is left traumatized by this and grieves over her girlfriend's death heavily, to the point where a few episodes later, she decides to commit suicide. At first glance, Nana blindly trusting magical girls who are clearly evil again and again and again may just make her seem naive and stupid in the anime. There is actually an explanation given in the original light novels. Long story short, Nana has a prince complex. In that, she has an obsession with Shizuku being her perfect prince, this being the whole reason that Nana had Shizuku become a magical girl in the first place, so that she can always protect her. The anime also leaves out an important detail about Shizuku and Nana's encounter with Calamity Mary, that Nana planned the whole encounter in order to engineer a situation where Shizuku will save her from a life and death situation, which explains Nana's compulsion to wander into situations such as Swim's trap, causing her to despair when her lover dies because of it.
Sure, this included part of Nana's character might make her a bad person in some people's eyes, it makes her more a complex person, filling in a lot of holes that the anime decided to leave out. And while some may classify this under the bury your gaze trope, it is a battle royale type anime where almost every single character dies, so their deaths didn't really bother me all that much the first time I watched the anime. But after later on giving the anime a second viewing, there was something about the relationship that gave me pause.
Not the relationship itself in the show, the scenes of Shizuku and Nana together are super cute and heartwarming, making their deaths all the more sad and tragic. But then I began to ponder something. What if Nana and Shizuku are only together just for the purpose of adding an extra mix of tragedy to make us feel worse? Now, if the original created light novel series 100% wanted Nana and Shizuku to be in a relationship which has nothing to do with their tragic deaths, then that's fine. But it doesn't help that the anime will go over the top at times with this tragedy, like Nana hanging herself with the scarf that she gave Shizuku as a present when they were in college. And it's the same scarf that Shizuku always wears when she's Waste Winter Prison. That was a little too much in my opinion.
Their relationship and how it's presented kind of feels like manipulation to us as an audience. I could be totally off by saying this, but it's something that I felt when I watched Magical Girl Racing Project for the second time. But taking all of that away, Shizuku and Nana are a super cute couple that have hidden complexity to them in the original light novels,